So
So,
Rachel,
so Brittany.
we had a great conversation. I'm not going to call her Deborah. She asked us not to use her
My
government
name.
Deb Scott, who this is another conversation where I am so impressed, not surprised, but very impressed with the cool conversations we get to have with people. And also for her, I mean, she's obviously super smart. She has 14 years of experience in knowledge management. She recently started her own LLC, Novera with a K Consulting, and she has a bunch of degrees and certifications. Like, she's super smart. But I think what I really appreciated about the conversation we had with her was her emphasis on her community.
Yeah.
And as the founder of Work Smarter Philly, which I think that this is something that when you think about knowledge management, people think of like, I'm a practitioner, I go to work, I do knowledge management there, and then I go home and I have the rest of my life. And Deb is an example of knowledge management and knowledge sharing be something that humans do. We've done it for hundreds and hundreds of years, right? It's one of the oldest things that humans have done is manage and share knowledge. And she's doing this in her community. And I love that. She
Yeah.
is the KM and AI and talking about it in her community and getting people aware, like of all ages, making people aware of it. And I think that everything was really interesting, but I think I found that the most compelling thing about her was her passion, but also her passion for her community. She teaches hip hop. Like, she's like the coolest person.
and line dancing, hip hop and line
Yes.
dancing, two totally different styles. And I resonated a lot with Deb because where, like you said, KM is kind of this tapestry that weaves through her life in a community sense. And I resonated a lot with that because of the work that I do in my community, right? I do this and I do the conference and I do a lot in my professional life, but I run a community center with some great people here in New Hampshire. And it's like, while I came on initially when we started our nonprofit as a finance person, which is hilarious in my mind, and our roles shifted and all of that. And now I'm like their VP of operations or whatever. KM kind of was the founding piece for me with that. I built a knowledge base and I started writing policies and doing those pieces and started teaching my team there, okay, let's start working through KM and what is KM and how can we keep things organized. More of the nerdy stuff and not so much the hip hop and the dance, but those pieces to kind of help keep the community center organized. And then from there, we have done some fun stuff as far as KM is concerned. It's not just something, okay, this is what I do in my day job and then I go home. Like, it is something that weaves all the way through my life in so many different ways. And I resonated a lot with Deb. Plus she was just great to talk to. I really
Yeah.
appreciated and enjoyed the conversation there.
Yeah. And I also, because she had been through some stuff, right? And so her philosophy that she shared with us of, get back up.
Yep.
I think a lot of people can relate to that in different situations in life, right? So professionally, personally, I think that was also a really important message and a very well-rounded, like you said, just knowledge management kind of woven into everything that she does. She is thinking about writing a book. We're encouraging her to write a book. We want to be, the first people that like support her when she does. And so, yeah, really cool human, really excited for people to get to see if you're watching on YouTube or hear if you're listening to the podcast. Listen to and watch Deb.
Yeah. So without any further ado, check out the episode for Deb Scott. Roll the intro.
What's the point of another KM podcast? Well, I tell you, we've got every kind of point, like power and share, laser and main, bullet and prize, focus and pain, power and share, laser and main, bullet and prize.
So, Deb, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the podcast. Is it okay if we call you Deb or do you
Thank you.
prefer Deborah?
No, don't call me by the government name.
Okay, I will not then. Deb
Deb
is
is
good. We're
fine.
good. We're good with Deb. I just wanted to check. Just wanted to do due diligence. We've got some guiding questions, but I wanted to give you a chance to just kind of introduce yourself and tell our listeners and viewers a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Sure. So, my name is Deb Scott. I am I would say an organizational intelligence architect. So, my role and the things that I've been working on for the past 14 plus years kind of surpasses the role of a traditional knowledge manager or knowledge architect. I recently launched a business, Novera Consulting LLC, in January of this year. I am a small business owner. I train organizations, big, small, and also in the community on KM and also AI. Living in Philadelphia, their knowledge management and AI are not things that people know or are aware of. So that's kind of like why one of the reasons why I wanted to start my business. In my spare time, when I do not have on my KM or AI nerd hat, I teach dance in the community. So I teach dance to adults, children, and everybody else in between. I teach hip hop, I teach line dance. I'm also versed in African and some jazz, but yeah, I teach dance classes in the community as well. So that helps me not feel overwhelmed and stressed with the KM and AI buzz that's floating around.
Love that. So you call yourself an organizational intelligence architect. And I love that title. You
Yes.
told us a little bit about what it was. So if someone is listening and they're like, what does this, how would you describe that to someone? What does that mean for you?
That's a great question. I can share what it means to me. So I'll say it this way. I help organizations and the community tap into kind of like their tribal knowledge, right? Tap
Hmm.
into the things that they know. And I make that information shareable amongst that community or amongst that organization so that other people can benefit from it. One of the things that I think we do not do in the KM space enough, or at least that I don't have that awareness, is using knowledge management in the community. So you think about like your neighbors and the people around you, there's a ton, like a wealth of knowledge just floating around where you live. Like, how do you tap into that and, again, allow others to benefit from it? So as an organizational intelligence architect, I do that again for corporations, big or small, and also within the community. That's really what I love when people have like aha moments like, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, this person knew this, and now I'm able to tap in. So that's kind of like at the heart of what I do. And again, it goes beyond, I think, just kind of like traditional knowledge management. It's using KM to its fullest potential. And again, making sure not just corporations benefit from KM, but also within the community.
I love that.
Cool.
And I think you're right. We sometimes forget because knowledge management is this discipline that's been around since the 90s, but it's actually managing knowledge is something that humans have been doing since the beginning of time. Before things were written down and we had to
Right.
share this knowledge with each other, right? So you're tapping into that very primal, if I can use that word, origin of what it means to
Mhm.
manage knowledge in the first place. So I love that. Follow-up question. When you
Exactly.
walk into a
Mhm.
new organization, so as an organizational intelligence architect, if you walk into or speak to people in a new organization, what is the first signal that you look for that tells you whether knowledge is flowing the way that it should or that it's not at all?
Mhm. That's a great question. What I've been like coaching others to do as well, like that are new in the space. When I walk into an organization, I don't do for the first 30 days, I'm not making any assumptions. I'm not trying to solve their problem on day one. I think sometimes in KM, I don't want to say it's expected of us, but there's this kind of like misconception that on day one you have to have all of the answers. You do not. So what I look for in those 30 days, 30 to 60 days, I'm observing only. I'm not doing any work. I want to see, do these organizations, one, do they understand what KM is? A lot of times they do not. So I look for words or phrases that they use to kind of get a gauge of where they are kind of like in the knowledge management like sphere. So for example, one of the roles that I previously held, um, they gave me on my first day something called the Excel from hell. Like, it was literally it was literally
Oh, we've all been there.
a spreadsheet, excuse me, with and I've never seen anything like this, and this was the term that they called the spreadsheet. It was the Excel from hell, and I'm like, "Well, what am I supposed to do with this? This isn't knowledge, this is data." So, those are kinda, again, like, little indicators that, like, actually, that was a tremendous indicator, it wasn't even a small one, but it was, "Oh, let me see, where do you have knowledge?" And then people say, "Oh, it's everywhere." "Oh, well, who's creating your knowledge?" "Nobody." "Well, who's maintaining it?" "Nobody." "Well, do you have a framework? Do you have governance? Do you have KPIs?" Crickets. So asking those just very few questions over the span of even the first few days, you get a handle on you have nothing. Okay, you have nothing. So that's why I'm here to help you build that. So, but yeah, the Excel from hell with I've never seen an Excel spreadsheet where you don't know how many tabs or sheets there were. Like
Yeah.
it just didn't end. So
Oof.
yeah,
That's insane.
exactly.
That's crazy. I mean, I love Excel as much as the next person, but I at least have limits to it.
There was no limit, and I'm like, "Well," so at least one KM aspect was, like, permissions, when you think about, again, governance and control, version control, and I'm like, "Well, even with this, I could see, like, if you have a Excel from hell with these unlimited tabs, how do people add to this spreadsheet?" Like, I'm not maintaining it for you, I'm not, but just a quick question, how do people add and update it, and who has the ability to do it? And the answer there was even scarier. So again, just even from a data management perspective, that's probably not ideal. So yeah, I just keep an eye out, ask people to show me what you're doing and show me where your
Mhm.
knowledge. Yeah, those kind of basic KM scoping questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a good place to start, right? Right at the beginning. So,
Right at the beginning.
yep. So, you've built KM programs that scaled from hundreds to thousands of users. What's your biggest myth leaders still believe about scaling knowledge, and what have you found actually
Ooh.
works?
The biggest myth. So I think there's a lot of misconception. I think that sometimes when it comes to scalability, leaders often think like, oh, you don't need governance and structure and red tape. It's too bureaucratic. You don't need all of these things. You don't need structure. You could just roll it out and people will just do the right thing. That I think
Hmm.
is very scary. And again, from a leadership perspective, because you need that leadership support, that buy-in, that sponsorship, you need them to set the example. So when they're like, "Oh, you don't need to train people on this," they're just gonna do it. We're gonna flip the switch and turn it on and they're gonna know how to do it. And it scares me, like again, that you're in a position of decision making and you don't see like you're setting up your KM program to fail almost from the start when you don't take the position of saying, hey, we need to set up some, I don't want to use the term guardrails, but you have to have structure. That's a part of your foundation. It's like building a house on popsicle sticks. And you're like, I'll just stick the sticks anywhere, take your gum out of your mouth, stick it on it, and just, it'll stick. No, it won't.
It's gonna be
Right.
fine.
So
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest. Right, one small gust of wind and it's over, right? So, I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions is that you don't need structure, you don't need guardrails, guidance, permission, like all of that infrastructure. Like, what is it for? Like, it's just not out there for no reason. It's there for a reason. So, this kind of misconception that people will just, oh, they'll do the right thing, they'll update it, and no. You have to set the precedent. You have to hold people accountable. You have to document. You have to set examples and leading by example as a person in leadership. But yeah, for me, that's one of the big ones is you don't have to train. What?
The
Yeah,
It's so
idealism
interesting
is
to me.
is wild.
Yeah. It's interesting to me how people do that with knowledge management, but we wouldn't do that with other functions. If you
right.
think of HR, or finance or other functions, it's, oh, well, people will just do the right thing. We don't have to roll out guidance for how we do our budgets. Everyone's just going to know how to do the right thing. And it's like, are they?
Right. Yeah.
That sounds like a unicorn land where we all would love to live, but we all definitely don't live there. um,
Yeah, that's
So I
KM
think that's a
Utopia that does not exist.
KM Utopia.
right there. Yeah, exactly. KM Utopia. Hashtag KM Utopia for sure. Um, I'm excited. I used to teach dance in college. I wasn't as cool as hip hop. I taught swing dance, which is very, very different.
Ooh,
But I
nice.
used to teach dance in college, and then now I'm doing ballroom dance lessons here in Jordan. But you teach hip hop and line dancing, and so you've said getting people to move in
Mhm,
the same direction is the same skill
mhm.
on the dance floor and in knowledge
Same
management.
skill.
And I love that connection. Can you say more about that? Like, what
Yeah.
is one
Yeah.
lesson from dance that every knowledge management leader should steal?
Ooh, I would say repetition. So, you how you go across the floor, you have to
Hmm.
practice the muscle, right? Practice makes not perfect, but better. So you have to practice, you have to repeat what you're doing so it will stick. Um, interestingly enough, I had a interview several months back, and the guy asked me the same question. He's like, "So you teach dance? So what are transferable skills between teaching dance and KM?" And I'm like, "Well, you have to lead by example, right? I'm the teacher. I stand in the front. I'll show you this is how you do it, right? And then how do I get the students to pick it up? So you have to do it yourself. One, and I'm there to guide you. And if you make a mistake, I'm there to guide you. I'm there to correct you, I'm there to course correct. But also, you have to do the work in order for you to pick up the movement. I can't do it for you.
Hmm.
You have to, this is my job is just as much as it is yours. Like I can only teach to an extent, but repetition, I think, is key. And the more I can get you to do it, and adopt it, then it becomes second nature. Then you have aha moments and then it sticks. So I think, um, that kind of, again, like skill from a teacher standpoint is where it carries over into KM. I'm giving you the example. I'm showing you how to do this. We're going to practice till you get it right, and then it will stick. So the examples, the repetition, and then having patience, because that's, you have to have a lot of patience in
Hmm.
KM. Rachel's laughing.
Hmm.
You have to. You both know that in KM space that you have to tell the same story 20 times. Unfortunately, you have to redefine and come up with another way and be creative. And like you said, sometimes knowledge management can be very dry. I like to think outside of the box. Like the things that I come up with for my students, I try to, come up with things that are engaging, things that are relatable. Um, but yeah, those examples are, I think, paramount to adoption. And again, the change management piece and getting things to stick. And of course, repetition, the patience, all of those things, again, tie from being a teacher into KM for me.
Mm. So, Rachel, we need to get Deb to come to our next Empower KM conference and teach a
Yeah.
class. We need a dance
Yeah.
class
Oh,
at Empower
absolutely.
KM.
Yeah.
Will
And
do.
Absolutely.
I'm there. Just
absolutely.
say
Yes.
it. I'm there.
Love it.
Yeah,
I
3rd
love
week of
it.
February next year, 3rd week of February. Yeah,
Okay.
I imagine too there's gotta be some sense of, like, buy-in and interest, right? Because if there's not the buy-in or interest in dance,
Mm-hmm.
just like there's not the buy-in or interest in KM, then you're working against people who don't want to do it, right? You're
Right.
dealing with the voluntoldism, right? Like,
Right.
I just remember, I don't know if you did this, or if I mean, I know it wasn't just my middle school, but I remember in middle school, we had the line dancing lesson.
Mm.
We had
For
a
like a
whole
gym
in our
class or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
in our gym class, yeah, and we
Okay.
had the line dancing, and you could clearly see the kids who were interested in it and the kids who were not, but it was
Mhm.
that requirement.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But we all had to get through it, right? So it's
Right.
just, and I'm not much of a line dancer myself, but I go with my friends on the occasion. It's not something that I would like do for me on a random fun night out on my own accord. But if there's a group of us going to do it for
Mhm.
fun, yeah, sure, I'll go and have a good time. Or if we're doing it at the conference, sure, like heck yeah,
Right.
count me in.
Yeah. Hmm.
But
Yeah.
there's got to be that at least a baseline level of interest in order to do it,
Mhm.
and otherwise you're working up against the riptide. You're working up against the current in the worst way possible. Because
Right.
it's just As I that's the hardest part about getting people on board with KM. If they
Mhm.
don't wanna do it, they're not gonna do it.
Right. That's a
Yeah.
good point though that you called out, Rachel. Like you mentioned line dancing as your example. And but if you're like, "Ah, I'm kind of reluctant, that's not really you do it when you're with friends. That might not be your go-to necessarily, right? But
Mhm.
when you see other people doing it and they're having fun, you're
Oh,
more
yeah.
inclined to want to do it. And KM is the same way, right? So like if I see my colleagues are benefiting from using AI or going into this repository and searching and it has AI laid on top and
Sure.
they're finding things and don't have to call me, I'm going to say, well, what are you doing? I need to learn that, right? So
Oh, yeah.
those two worlds, although they seem like they're at opposite ends of the spectrum, the concepts are definitely overlapping there, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it took me even with AI, like,
Mhm.
I'm not anti-AI by any means. I spoke at KM World London, and I was talking about AI and very high level, like, I'm very people forward, and my session had AI in the title. It was loosely about AI, but it was about people first AI and technology
Mhm.
that while the session was technology based, it was not a technology driven session. And
Gotcha.
when people realized that, 3 got up and left my session, and I was like, "All right, cool, see you later."
Oh,
Right?
wow.
Like, it was a half an hour session. You're telling me you can't sit for 30 minutes? Anyway, like,
Rude.
no hard feelings, like, everything's fine. I laugh, end of the day, I laugh about it, it's all good. But it's just funny to me, like, eh, like I said, I'm not anti-AI, but it's also something that it's taken me a while to kind of warm up to it, right?
Mhm.
And I can understand why KM would be hard for people because inherently change is hard. Like, I'm a
Mhm.
change
Yeah.
management practitioner. I am somebody who can manage the heck out of change for literally anybody else. But when it
Mhm.
comes time to manage my own personal change, no, nope. Mm-mm. It's the hardest thing in the world, and
Mhm.
I will own that. So yeah. Anyway, enough about me today. Let's get back to you. So tell me about Work Smarter Philly. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that, and then I'll follow up with my question afterwards.
Sure. So, Work Smarter Philly is an initiative that I started to bring knowledge management and AI into the Philadelphia communities, right? So,
Cool.
as a native Philadelphian, so I've been born and raised in Philly. I've lived here, except for when I went away to college for pretty much most of my life. Philly, I'm passionate about my city and my people, right? These are the people of my city. One of the things that stands out to me about Philadelphia, Philadelphia has a 52% literacy rate.
Wow.
And so,
Mm.
right, so you can imagine if literacy is at 52%, digital literacy is going to be not too far behind it, right? And so one of the reasons why I wanted to start Work Smarter Philly is so that the people of the city and in the communities don't get left behind from a digital literacy perspective. If again, and if you pair AI with literacy, you can definitely cover ground and close knowledge gaps there and help people learn to read, right? You can
Yeah.
absolutely use AI as a tool to help people with that. So what I've done is I've reached out to different institutions in Philadelphia to ask them what they want, to partner or pair with me where I come in and I'm instructing, I'm teaching people about knowledge management. Knowledge management, like Brittany said, has been around since what, the 80s for more than 40 years, and people still have no clue that it's there. And especially the younger generation, they're tapped into KM and don't even realize that. So I have a theory. I'm
Mhm.
going to go on record and say this. I'm writing old kind of uh almost like a white paper, and I plan on publishing it soon. But people are participating in KM and don't realize it. And when I say that the younger generation, they're doing it too and they don't realize it, TikTok to me, when I look at TikTok, there's
Oh
so
yeah.
much knowledge on there. Like they're literally creating not KB articles just in, video format and they don't realize it.
Mhm.
It's like there's this tapped in science where you get paid a great deal of money to teach people how to do this and share what they know and organize it and make sure that other people can tap into it, but they don't know that that's what they're doing. So how do we pull them in? And so that's kind of like the second piece of what I want to do, exposing people to KM, of course, and then how do we expose them to AI? Again, Philadelphia has some areas of opportunity there, and I want to be that person to help bridge that gap. So that's what I'm doing, looking for institutions that want to partner with me and say, hey, Dad, can you come in and teach us or talk to us about KM? Can you teach us about AI? Even if it's just fundamentally, right? But that's what I would love to be able to do across my city.
Oh, that's an incredible initiative.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've been saying too in some of the work that I've done that I use TikTok and I use YouTube Shorts and I use Reels as
Hmm.
examples all the time. And I'm like, hey, don't slam me here, but you can learn so much from these things.
Yep.
I mean, of course, some of it is garbage, right? Garbage in, garbage out, and some of it, some of it's just pure fun. Like Brittany and I had a whole conversation not too long ago about this wild ride I went on with some drama about a relationship, and I was like, "You got to hear this story." It was like
I
four
was like,
little
"This is
shorts
on
long.
TikTok," and then I sound really old, right? I'm like, "What is happening on the TikTok that I need to know?"
Well,
So
just because you have to sign into a VPN to watch it doesn't mean,
I
I mean,
know.
you have
They
an
make it
excuse.
hard in Jordan.
I, on the other hand, have I took it off for a while, and then I put it back on because of the community center I'm involved with, but regardless, there are lots of different things that you can learn from TikTok and from these
Right.
shorts, and, like, this generation is, like, doing some crazy awesome stuff with it,
Hmm.
so mad props to them. So when you're thinking about Work Smarter Philly and the initiative that you've already started to do it, like what have you thought regarding the communities that you've taught so far in the future of knowledge equity that organizations haven't caught up to yet? Like, what are you thinking in that regard? Like, you have this amazing community that you've brought together and that you're working with,
Hmm.
and knowledge equity is, I mean, it's a currency, really. Like,
Right.
what has this taught you?
So I think for the most part, the same skills and methodologies and techniques that we use in KM for KM in the corporate space, you can use them in the community, right? So
Yeah.
where I mentioned before, and just like you, the example you just gave, Rachel, that on TikTok, some of those people are our neighbors. They may not be your direct neighbor, but some of them are people's actual neighbors. It's like, wow, my neighbor's in his backyard building, like a doghouse with again popsicle sticks and paper clips, right? And how did I
Mhm.
could build that too. But understanding that again that's like an untapped thing. Like we don't do it as much. And TikTok I think has does it kind of beautifully, but those same concepts that we talk about in knowledge management, how do we tap into the things that our neighbor knows, those shared experiences, and we pull value from them. I talked about on the Black Voices in KM panel how in the community it's different. Corporation, we call it findability. When you're able to find the knowledge that you need, it's
Mhm.
findability, right? And efficiency. In the community, it could be a means of survival for people, right? Like if I say, well, did you know that there are different food banks in Philadelphia? So if you're struggling to, make ends meet and you need food, that there's a food bank right at the corner of, whatever the location is. That's another way to share knowledge and it helps people. So from again from I think a more broader perspective of saying the same tools and the way we use knowledge management to advance and create a competitive advantage in corporations, you can do the same thing within the community. So I think for me that was like, wow, I've never thought about using, and this is again why I wanted to start Novera, that knowledge equity. Everyone should have access to knowledge, not just people that are
Mhm.
tied to a large corporation. People in the community can benefit from it too. And so for me, it was applying those same principles, those same concepts to the people that are, again, in the city. And it doesn't have to be just Philly, it could be anywhere. So if somebody else watches or hears what I'm saying, they may, be inspired to do the same. But for me, it was, wow, I want to help the people in my city because we have so much untapped knowledge, so many resources that I think people don't know are available to them. How do we make it more well known? And then again, just make the resources available where it's needed.
Awesome. And do you have a website or a link for Work Smarter Philly?
So I do have my business website, because right now Work Smarter Philly is still in, in its infancy. Novera, KNOVERA .co. So Novera .co.
Excellent. And we'll put novera.co in the show notes so people can access
Yep.
it for you. Of
Okay, cool. Thank you.
course.
So, Deb, you have a mantra, which we were talking about earlier. And I really love it. And
Mhm.
I'm excited for our listeners and viewers to hear the story behind it. Your mantra, get back up, is rooted in
Mhm.
resilience. And if you wouldn't mind sharing
Yes.
with us, how has resilience, like the story behind that mantra, but then also how has resilience shaped the way that you approach knowledge management, especially in an era where AI is
Um,
shaping everything at like a really high speed, but just kind of what does that mean to you? And then as you look at knowledge management and the way you approach knowledge management, how has that shaped your view of that?
Absolutely. That's a fantastic question. So get back up is my mantra. So in November of 2025, I was laid off from my job. And when you get laid off, it's strange. And I'll say this again because I'm sure somebody can relate to what I'm saying. There's like a stigma or shame that comes with being laid off. And it's so awkward because it's like I didn't do anything wrong, neither did the other people that got laid off, right? But there's this weird stigma or shame that comes with it. And it's like I didn't do anything wrong. Shame on the corporations or the companies that are letting people go, right? With no forewarning, you're affecting people's livelihoods. But I had just built a KM program for my previous employer where the program grew 358% over the span of 4 months, and it was projected to save them at least $10 million, right? At least $10 million. And the knowledge base, the repository that I built was supposed to, again, be for like 700 plus users that I trained, and it grew to being used by 1/3 of the company, actually 1/3 of the workforce. Right. And so with all of that effort, all of that, all of those accolades, that major accomplishment, I was let go, right? After pouring pretty much everything that I knew in that effort into KM, I was laid off. And so it was like a gut punch, right? Like being punched in
Mm.
the gut and you're like, okay, what do I do from here? Right. So I realized in that moment I had two choices. I could, I could stay down or I could get back up. And so with my resilience or in my resilience, I'll say it that way. I decided to start my own company because I've been doing this for again almost 15 years. And I am a KM SME, right? I know knowledge management forwards, backwards, sideways, diagonally, like, and so I'm like the effort that you put forward in this other company, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do that for yourself. And so instead of
Mm.
staying down, right? Because there's a moment when you're down. You are definitely down when you get laid off. It hurts. It affects your livelihood. It affects your self-esteem. It affects all of those things. And I said, I'm choosing in this moment not to let this keep me down. So I'm going to get back up. Novera for me is my resilience. So my company that I built, it's my resilience. It's how I show up in the KM and AI space and say, well, despite this setback, I'm still going to move forward. And so 62 days after I was laid off, I launched my business, my Novera.co. And through that space is where I'm able to show up for people that I would have never had the opportunity to meet and do the things that I'm doing had I not been laid off. It's almost like the gift and the curse, right? So
Yep.
and in that moment when you are laid off, you don't see the other things that are lying ahead. It's like just around that corner, Deb, just over that hill, there are so many things waiting for you. And had I stayed there and stayed down and woe was me, and things happen for us, not to us. It's important to make that distinction as well. But Novera for me is my resilience. It's how I show up in the KM space and the things that I'm able to do. Like now I'm able to help, like I've helped several of my friends who were small business owners teach them about KM and AI, especially AI. I'm like, you can't sit and manually do all of these things. This is going to take you forever. I have a friend that has a t-shirt business and he wanted to create like he had, I think, 45 different t-shirt designs in mind. And I was like, 45? Like we were at his house and working on it. And he's like, I have to write in my notebook the description and the color and the size. I said, what are you doing? We don't have that kind of time for how long did it take you to do one of those? And he's like, maybe 5 or 10 minutes. 5 or 10 minutes, multiply that by 45. we're not doing that. Let me show you how to use Claude, Copilot, Gemini, GPT, Perplexity, Grok, something other than what we're doing right now, because this is not it. So it's how I'm able to again show up for people that need me, that need my skills, to say that help me automate, help show me a faster and more efficient way to do this. Help me reuse my knowledge so that if I'm a small business owner, if I go on vacation, my team that works for me or works on my behalf, they can still run the business without me, right? Knowledge management is key to that, because if you're the only one with the knowledge, you go on vacation for 2 weeks, your business stops running. So yeah, but that's how I showed up for myself. And again, that's Novera is literally the epitome of my resilience, of saying that you got knocked down, but you got back up. So that's my mantra. I plan on getting t-shirts and hats made. So coming soon.
Let us
And
know
I
when
think
you
other
do.
people like
I
resonate.
want a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Right. Buttons, Brittany, listen, listen,
Yep.
so Rachel, I'm gonna ask Claude, what is some cheap merch we can get out the door right away? Right, with that saying on it. But no, I think, and I had never I never said it out loud. That was the other thing. It was kind of cathartic for me and healing all at the same time. So when I mentioned this back in at the end of March, when I spoke on the Black Voices in KM panel, and shout out to Barisa for inviting me. I appreciate her for that too. Um, I never said it out loud. And so when I said it out loud, there were people on the call, they're like, Deb, we thought you were just going to talk about KM. You're talking about KM plus AI plus your business plus how to show up. And I encourage people, and I'm like, I just wanted to encourage myself. Like the fact that I'm encouraging all these other people was just it was it really touched my heart. Like I wasn't expecting it. I just showed up. I told the truth and said, get back up. When you get gut punched, it hurts. Acknowledge it, but make sure you keep moving. Right? Don't stay down. Get back up.
Thank you for
I
sharing.
think
That's
that's
incredible.
yeah. Yeah,
Thank
and
you
I
for
think that
allowing me to share it.
that will resonate with so many people. A, because like you said earlier, the job
Yeah.
market sucks, and also because I know, I think especially for knowledge
Mm, mm,
managers, and I can speak from my own personal experience, also losing my job at the end of last year and then starting a new business this year to kind of, also show myself that I can do it, right? Um, but I think there are a lot of
awesome.
people that will listen and be really inspired by you and that story. And so I do
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. And I think that we are very passionate people about knowledge management, but like you said, "Oh, I thought you were going to talk about KM and you're talking about this and this and this." KM is still, it's a huge part of our lives, but it is still part of our lives. And there's
Yeah.
these other things
Mm-hmm.
that
Right.
might relate to knowledge management or might influence how we approach knowledge management, but are still other parts of our lives, right? And so I do think that that is really
Yes.
important. And I love how you're putting that into context for people in your community to say, hey, this stuff that you're doing, you don't call it this really nerdy thing that I would call it, but that's what you're doing. And this is how it's important. And this is how
Right.
it can, like it brings things to your life and it's there for your community. And it's a way that you can serve your community with something that you feel really passionate about, which I think is beautiful, honestly. So,
Yeah.
Right.
And KM
Thank
is
you.
people first, right? And
Yes, it
that's,
is.
and it is something that we are part of, and we are people. So, what struck me first too is the flight attendants when you get on an airplane, if you're flying with kids or people who need extra help, you have to put your mask on first in order to
Okay.
help other people.
Mhm.
And when you get back up, it's okay to feel the feelings, but you have
Yeah.
to get back up, right? So the first image that came to mind was you had to put your mask on and, you know, breathe the air, but
Mhm.
you got to get up. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that so much because I also had layoff last year. And I was content in the position I was in, working full time and also doing my side hustles and and not that I wouldn't have made the change. Um, we were just kind of like at home, kind of riding it out and would have made the change when the time was right.
Mhm.
Um, but also the fact that the change was made for me and, it was the best case scenario, like, we had of all the people it could have happened to, I'm glad it happened to me. on
Okay.
the team that I was
Mhm.
with. But at the same time, it was still that like, ugh, well, I
Mhm.
guess this happened today. You
Mhm.
know,
Right.
it's only
Mhm.
the best case scenario, but it still sucked,
It
right?
does.
Like, I really wish it could have been my choice, but at the same time, like, the severance was nice, I guess. You know? But it's still, even when everything lines up the way where it couldn't have been more perfect, it still sucks.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Uh-huh. It does.
so I just appreciate you sharing that because I know there are people listening who are going to resonate 100% with that.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
um, yeah. Well, what else can we open the floor for you to share, to promote, to what
Oh,
else?
so
Yeah.
I have some things in motion right now. Right now, what I'm working on with through Novera, right through my business, I am doing a 6-week boot camp. So I am right now working with my founding student in cohort 0. So probably later this summer, maybe closer to the fall, I'll be kicking off um, my first cohort, so cohort 1, where the purpose of the boot camp, so and I'm sure you 2 can relate to this, we talk about a lot of KM theory. Like, when our instruction, when we get our certifications, we talk a lot about KM theory. Not that that's bad, right? It is what it is. We
Mhm.
need to know the theory, but we also need to know how to apply that theory, right? The practicum. So theory is great, but how do I execute? And there are a lot of people that I think are left with when they come out of their certifications, they're like, oh, yeah, I got my cert. Oh, great. Now, what do you do next? How do you start? How do you execute? And so created this boot camp, and I'm going through how do you build a KM program. This is how you build. So I'm going to presume that the folks that show up either have the theory, they know the theory, or I don't cover much theory, and it's literally on day 1, you go to work, and this employer is saying, "Build KM for me." What do you do? How do you where do you start? What things do you need to know? And then how do you show up? Because they're expecting you to know and do these things, and some people have very unrealistic expectations on the knowledge manager. Oh, I expect you to solve this on the first day. No, no. So what do people need to know? So that's what I capture in my boot camp. This is what will help you build a blueprint, and a workable and scalable one at that, that you can take with you at any organization. Most of the common things, those common pain points, we see them again and again and again. And I've worked for multiple companies now where they've had the same issues. Like, believe it or not, it's the same issue. And so how do you solve that? What's the game plan? The boot camp will be open to cohort 1 probably later this summer, the beginning of the fall. It was a 5-day intensive during the work week where people, if they want to sign up with me, they can. That will also be on my website, novera.co. So make sure you check that out if you are interested in attending a KM boot camp. I am a drill sergeant. You will know KM by the time you're done with me. You
I
will
love
be
it.
able to
I love it
build,
so
and
much.
if nothing more, like, I don't expect thank you. I don't expect you to be me when we're done, but you will have a sizable toolkit to help you through the things that again are going to be asked of you. Like, one of the things that I covered just last week, it's important to understand the difference between data, information, knowledge, and wisdom, right? The DIKW pyramid. I just mentioned to the 2 of you, they gave me on my first day the Excel from hell. So if I didn't know the difference between data, information, knowledge, and wisdom, I would have said, oh yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be in charge of. No, it's not. I can't do anything with that. I don't even know why you have this, but it's not mine. It's certainly not mine. It's yours, but it's certainly not mine. So some of those basic things and how they tie into KM. And then also, how do we use AI as knowledge management practitioners, right? AI doesn't replace what we do. It's supposed to amplify what we do. Because I have my CAIM, Claude and Copilot, we I talk with them regularly, pretty regularly, and they help me, they amplify what I'm doing in the KM space, and I absolutely love it. So I'm teaching others how to feel comfortable using those tools. Use them to your advantage, right? They're there for a reason. They're not there to replace you. They're there to augment and amplify what you're already doing. So that's some of the things that we cover in my boot camp. And one other thing that I'm working on, so when I finish the boot camp, I plan to have and publish the KM playbook. So if you don't want to take the boot camp with me, that's fine. But I'll have a playbook that people people can buy and use to help them in their knowledge management practice.
Got a lot
So
of things coming.
lots of good things, Rachel.
Yeah.
Lots
Lots
of
of
good
good
things.
things, lots of very needed
Thank you.
things. Um,
Yeah.
so yes, hot off the
Mm-hmm.
presses. You heard it here first.
We'll
um,
have the website in the show notes. Make sure you check it out so you can keep up to date with Deb and make sure you keep track because she's a busy lady. She's got lots of things coming and you want to keep up with her.
Yeah, lots of good things. Yep.
Awesome.
So, one thing that I wanted to talk about is the importance of knowledge management, especially now within the AI space. I
Mm.
think that's
mm,
something that not enough people are discussing and have awareness of. AI is new, right? Like AI is newer. Like within the last, I would say, what, 2, maybe 3 years, people have been talking about AI and
Sure.
working with the tech. Knowledge management has been around way longer than that. They would
Sure. Yeah.
conflate the 2 of those 2 different very different sciences. They are definitely related and definitely have some dependencies, but they should not at ever any point be confused.
I know what knowledge management is and hoping that this podcast will help them understand it, right? So it's
Right.
just trying to the contextual layers of the conversation.
I
Yeah.
do think it taps into, Deb, what you were saying. It taps into, I don't know if it's an anxiety is not the right word. It taps into something where, and Rachel and I have had joked about this, where when you say the words knowledge management to someone, people's eyes just glaze over and they're like,
Yeah.
I that's not relevant to me. I
Cannot
have no idea what you're
compute.
talking about. But
Cannot
if you
compute.
describe,
Yeah.
exactly, if you describe a problem,
Mhm.
so if you describe, so for
Mhm.
example, like, so I come from the international development sector. If I describe a problem to somebody that's like,
Okay.
when you were in Ethiopia,
Mhm.
was there ever a time when you were trying to find a document, and then you weren't able to find the
Mhm.
document, or you needed somebody needed to know something about this field, policy that you had last year, and who knows about it, and you call someone. Have you ever had that kind of happen? And you describe it to them and they go, yeah, there was this one time when we knew there was a policy and the person who knew it the best had already retired and we had
Mhm.
to call them and we had to ask them and it was really embarrassing. And then they look at you and go, that's a knowledge management problem. And you're like, yes, that's a knowledge management. That's something that
Yeah.
knowledge management can help you solve. So I do see,
Mhm.
and I'm not, again, sticking up for that person, but I do see when we are so attached as knowledge managers to our terms and our technical jargon and our,
Mhm.
the way that things used to be, right? And then you look at how things are now, the pendulum has really swung towards everyone's like new, shiny AI, faster, blah, 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 all this stuff. But then you see, especially in the sector that I'm in, dramatic budget cuts changing things overnight. And you have people leaving organizations. It's like hemorrhaging knowledge at this point, right? Knowledge that these organizations like the
Yeah.
UN and NGOs will never get back. And so now people are encountering, oh, this is what it means, right? So I do think that it kind of taps into,
Mhm.
some people just don't care, and that's fine. But some people don't necessarily
Right.
understand because it is kind of, it's a term from the 80s and 90s, and what does that mean for now and all this stuff. It's how we talk about it as well. It's how we tell the story. It's how we talk about it. It's how we relate to people. It's how you're translating it to the community, to your community, talking about it in a way that people can see themselves in it
Mhm.
and go, oh yeah, that is something that I do all the time. It's just a different word
Right.
for it. So I do think that it taps into kind of this broader thing that I've at least seen. And I think AI just ratcheted that up a lot, right? So it was always something. It used to be, there was blockchain, right? That we all had to like be on the blockchain train.
Mhm.
And then it was, automation, and now it's AI. And there's always going to be something where it's like, this is going to help with us with knowledge management. And this is going to help us with knowledge management. And we as knowledge managers also need to recognize we, also need to tell the story in a relatable
Right.
way, right? Some people are just not going to get it. That's fine. But to be able to talk to people and speak their language in a way that they understand that actually, yes, this is, so to your point about being petty, actually, yes, this is knowledge management that you're talking about. Actually, yes, this is, the thing. And whatever we call it, whatever we call it, that's what
Right.
it is. I'm hitting my microphone because now I'm also just getting excited about it.
Wow.
I think you make a really good point, though. Eventually the pendulum will swing and there will be, balance again. But right now we're kind of still at that inflection point where it's like, this is the thing that's going to save us, and us as knowledge managers, like, what is our job in that? To be like, yes, it is actually going to help us, but there are some really key distinctions and we need to have that conversation. So I do think, I see both sides, but I do think it's a really interesting thing to tap into. We share your frustrations.
Great. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you, Deb, for taking the time to speak with us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
This episode of Not Another KM podcast was edited by me, Rachel Teague. It was produced by Rachel Teague and Brittany Persinger. Our fantastic theme music was created by Chase Tremaine Music. Questions, comments, quips, quotes, or conundrums? Reach out to us at nakmpod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate your support.